Hello and welcome to the next episode of Mischief Makers with me, Dave Hearn. I am joined today by two wonderful people. I've got James and Sadie with me. Say hello, James and Sadie.
Hello.
And why don't you guys just quickly introduce yourselves and tell us what you do in the Comedy About Spies?
I'm Sadie. I am the stage manager for Comedy About Spies.
And I'm James. I am the assistant stage manager book cover.
Okay, so why don't you guys, for those of us out there who don't know what any of that means, what's the difference between your jobs, for example?
So the stage manager kind of oversees everything. So you work closely with all departments, including technical teams and the creative teams. And my job is to kind of make sure that everything happens when it should and how it should, so that we're all together and safe. And then you're part of that.
Yeah, well, I suppose the assistant part is to assist you in that role. It kind of falls a bit more to deal with like the props and the maintenance of that as well. And the actual then book cover part of my role comes into covering the deputy stage manager when they call the show. So if they are ill or away, then it's my job to step up to.
You've just introduced another title.
I know.
So you cover the deputy stage manager, who is the person on the book.
Yeah.
Who says,
so Helen
go.
Is our DSM on this.
Yeah.
We should like name drop all of our team.
Yeah, get them in.
Job. But yeah, Helen is the deputy stage manager who, like throughout tech, was making the book and putting in where the lighting cues go and the sound cues go. And then during the show is the one calling all of that over the comms, over the headset, so that it all happens at the right point.
So, for instance, in a scene change, you'd have Helen, our DSM, on the book, who would be calling lights and flown pieces and things like that, and sound. Then myself on the deck as a stage manager would be watching everything and making sure everything's moving when it should and that everything is safe and being ready to call a stop if needed, if something went out of time. James would be in one wing and Eve, our other SM, would be in another wing, and they would oversee their crew and varying set pieces. And then the hope is it all comes together and the scene change happens successfully.
And though you've made that sound quite easy, but now I suppose it does feel slightly easy that we're quite far into the run. Would you agree with that? Or would you be like, there are still very challenging moments in it?
Act 2 is very busy. There's a kind of a section in the middle of Act 2 where it's very quick. So I think everyone knows what they're doing and you get into a lovely rhythm.
Yeah.
But you still have to make sure you're like fully focused the whole time. Because when you get too relaxed, that's when people start to make mistakes.
It feels easier because you've done it so many times, as I suppose it would with you performing as well. But we still have to be switched on a little bit. That section is the Act 2 chase, so even its title sounds a bit manic.
There's a lot of, we've got a travelator
backstage.
and there's lots of stuff going on it and coming off of it, and and so I wonder what is the, like, as things start to settle, is the more challenging element of the job as it goes on is to remain vigilant? Is that like a very challenging part, or is it more physical, or is it kind of more of a mental challenge?
Probably more so for you. Again, the assistant part of the title makes it slightly easier for me to take a back seat and maybe be a fool in the wings and try and make you laugh on stage.
I've noticed.
What? But
I'm hearing none of this.
No, I don't do that. That's just
James is just like a statue.
Professional.
Waiting for his next cue. Yeah.
Vigilant. But no, I think we like with all the roles in whichever department we're in, you still have to have an element of being switched on in case something were to not happen like it usually does.
Yes. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I think it is part of the job is being able to maintain that level for 6 months, a year, depending how long you're on the show.
Yeah.
I guess in the same way for performers, you want to go out and that's audience is the first time they're seeing you. So you want to give the same performance every night. And the same level and the same quality. And I think for us, we need to make sure we have the same focus every night, even if you're doing it for the 8th time that week and you've been going for 4 months. It's really important to remember that everything needs to happen as planned.
Of course.
And if you get too comfortable and start to lose focus, that's when it comes.
Things goes
not
wrong.
in the
comedic way. In an actual way. And so, how do you feel about you're kind of often responsible for someone else's safety, right? Especially if it's an actor who's flying, or you're flying something in, and there's lots of us running around being silly, but you're sort of there. Yeah, how do you feel about that? Is there a moment where you're like, oh God, I wish they didn't do this bit? Or are you like, okay, cool, I'm on it, I've got it. It's like...
It is a huge part of the job, and sometimes stage managers can sadly have to be the kind of sensible one and go, we should maybe
Can we stop
reconsider
that?
this.
Yeah.
But part of the job is making sure that you can achieve what the director wants and what the creative team wants. So I've never had so many people fall out of windows as I have on this show.
Sure, yeah, there's a lot of that.
Fall out of windows, falling through things, flying. You know, on a Mischief show, it's particularly challenging. But
a lot of screams as well in the script, like scripted, but you occasionally go, is that a real one or a...
Yeah, there's one where Adele, as Rosemary, screams as a fly piece is going out.
Oh, wow.
And you have to say to everyone on comms, that's going to happen every night.
Yeah.
Unrelated.
Especially if you have a dep in or someone new coming in, that you're like, don't panic.
That's meant to happen. But it's part of the challenge as well and part of the fun.
Yeah.
If someone says, right, we want this person to fall out a window and swing through here and then fall through here. I mean, you know this.
Yeah, you've basically just described my part, yeah.
Yeah, you are the problem, Dave.
I'm the problem child, yeah.
Making that happen is part of the fun. And
and just sort of ensuring that there's... Yeah, and actually I feel, certainly from my perspective, I've never felt like unsafe. I imagine have I ever made you nervous? Like, I feel like when I jumped out the lift in the tech, that was a moment where you were like,
When you jumped out the lift, and when we were working out if Nancy's character could fall from a height.
Oh, yeah.
And we said, someone said, we'll get Dave to test it. And you just went.
Just threw yourself off.
You threw yourself off this piece. And I'm not sure any of us had had a moment to think yet.
Yeah. That was one of those...
Then.
Yeah, that was one of those weird moments in tech, wasn't there, where it was getting a bit tetchy, and we knew we needed a bigger crash mat, and then we wanted to test and then I was like, oh, okay, I'll just do it. And then I hit the deck, and I remember you were the first person I spoke to. You were like, "You actually okay?" I was like, "Oh no, I've winded myself horribly, but I am fine. I will be fine in about 10 minutes." And then that was when I went and spoke to Shields, because he was like, "How was it?" And I was like, "No, she absolutely cannot do that." And he was like, "I think it will be fine." And I was like, "No, I'm telling you." That was my favourite about it, because Shields was very sweet, because I went, "Mate, you're more than welcome to do it if you like. I've just done it," and I'm told. And he looked over the edge and went, "Yeah, okay, let's not do it."
No.
And I was like, "Good." But that must be hard, actually, if you've got actors who are just doing stuff like that. Because if I got really hurt, is that like... of course, I would never be like, why didn't you stop me from doing that? But if I'd got really hurt, is there a moment where you're like, oh, that guy's an idiot, or I should have stopped him? Or...
No, thankfully, all the safety precautions were in place. We had the right things there. We had Greg as our fight captain. We had the director there. There was myself. I think Shelley was there as movement coordinator.
Director,
So all the right things were in place, and we were there to look at that action. I think it was just the speed with which you went, yep, cool, I'll jump off that.
And then we're just like, that hurt, let's not do that.
Moment to question whether you should. It's like, it's already happened.
Yeah. I think that's always my best way of doing it. It's like, because someone will eventually tell me not to. So if I just do it, and then I hurt myself, I've proved it right one way or the other. We should or we shouldn't.
It's true. Jumping through the lift, I think that was in a blackout as well.
Yes,
You did jump out the lift in the dark.
Oh, so then you couldn't even see that. So
that didn't happen.
That may or may not have happened.
It was fine. It was.
Yeah.
But that's the swing side of it as well, is because you guys have done it so regularly on other shows, it feels more confident and safe as well. Like everyone's presence around it means that we're not necessarily questioning it as much. Whereas if you hadn't thrown yourself out of windows in other projects or other things, then maybe we would have been a bit more tentative alongside you. But
and it's hard. I know when we have cast changes and stuff, like, it's really interesting. Then I know the biggest challenge for stage management that carry over is that you've been working with a cast for a year who are very comfortable with that, and you then become comfortable with them being comfortable, and then a new cast comes in and you're like, oh, these guys aren't comfortable, and you sort of have to reset your
and it's just different people's abilities, isn't it? It's like the the understudies or ensemble covering whichever track
Yeah,
might
yeah.
slightly adapt to the physical aspects of a role slightly differently. I mean, it's the same with the depths that come in to learn our tracks. If I'm covering
Yeah.
Helen, or if I'm ill or something, we've had simple things like height is like, oh, hang on,
Yeah.
you cannot do what I've been doing on
Yeah.
the track, even if it's as simple as putting something on a shelf in a scene change. It's like, I've been doing that because I'm a foot taller,
course.
Yeah.
and the
Yeah,
person
yeah.
that we've called in through no fault of their own doesn't take a huge amount to be able to fix that problem. You just go, oh, okay, someone else tall, put it on the shelf.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's the same sort of thing of like
Those very
adapting with
practical things.
your understudies or our depths.
But we have Liam, our resident tall
Yeah,
person.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
who's a million feet tall.
Yeah. So it comes in handy.
And
Does a
that's
lot
why
of
he-
flying as well. Doesn't even need to go up to the rig.
No,
he can reach it
just,
from.
Yeah. He just picks you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told them.
I had that with. It was the first time I saw Crystal. Who's is Crystal in house or is Crystal
Crystal's in house.
in house? Yeah. So does that mean she works for? No, she's freelance, but she works for Noel Coward or at the Noel Coward.
Yeah, so Crystal and the other crew were hired by the Noel Coward to work on the show. So we
Right.
tell them how many people we need,
I see.
and they hire and make sure we've got the right amount.
And so they wouldn't be classed as stage management.
No, they are crew, and then there's also the in-house stage who are tied to the Noel Coward,
Right.
who do the flies and their kind of duty stage, and they cover plots and stuff if needed.
Okay. And so then what would be the difference between somebody hired by the Noel Coward and like your guys' team?
We work closely with them, but it's more that we're in the rehearsal room. So
Yeah.
we're with the project from the very beginning. So you would have had stage management in the workshops as well. And then crew are venue based. So they're not in the
Okay.
rehearsal room with you. And when you get to the venue, I had written plots for all of them. So we knew that we had five Q. We had 5 crew, 2 stage left, 2 stage right, and 1 who kind of floats around and goes up to the flies. And I'd made draft plots for them, and at the start of tech you hand them to them, and as we go they adapt, and we say, actually,
Okay.
can you do this instead? Or they might go, oh, I think it'd be helpful if I did this.
Great.
And then you build the plots together, but you
And
give them
then-
a starting point.
I suppose in theory you could just hand them all that plot over to somebody else
Yeah.
who could come in and then pick it up.
Yeah, by now they've also learned to cover each other so that they can have holiday or they can
Oh,
be away
great.
as well. But again, like with who can cover who, Crystal, being our resident smaller crew member,
Yes.
Yeah.
can fit behind the wharf and
That
stay
was
there
what I
throughout
was
the
why I
entire
brought her up.
scene.
Yeah, because I didn't notice that until literally about a month ago. The wharf is 2 big pieces of set that kind of come on from opposite sides, and then between is it the skyline? There's like a drop in, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the edge of the wharf is just this tiny human.
Yeah.
Just like squeezed in. Now, why is she there? Does she just get trapped?
She just wanted to be, and we never wanted to ruin her fun. You could never just tell her no.
She's having too much fun. We realised that we needed someone to put the drop bolts into the wharf, which
Okay.
are things that keep it safe.
Stop it from
So it's like the
shifting
brakes.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't on, big set piece on wheels, you guys are all running along it,
Yeah.
it's going to wobble. So in order to put them on, Crystal needed to be behind the wharf, and then there was just no way for her to get off stage.
So she's just there.
So she stays there. But then it helps because when we move into the next set piece and that section of wharf has to travel off, Crystal is guiding it.
Okay.
So it did have a bonus.
Is she
tail.
still there until the end of the show?
There's a blackout before the bows.
And she can quickly.
So when Woodbead screams and then that blackout, she's there until she
Oh
sprints
wow,
off.
that's quite a long time.
She runs across and helps strike a set piece stage left and then runs
Yeah.
off. So if you watch on the infrared, as I do every
Yeah.
night, you see Crystal jump up, run across the stage.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's so
And
cool.
watch because you're off stage. Oh no, you're.
Yeah, I'm about to
Yeah.
go on and receive my applause now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just
That's
true.
what I'm
We
What it's
focused
all
on.
for.
Yeah. Wow, that's very cool.
So we
And-
had to test out different crew members as to who would fit behind there to cover Crystal.
And how many have passed the test?
Izzy.
Is it just Izzo and Izzo and Crystal? Oh wow, that's so fun. Yeah, because I remember seeing her and just sort of like, she was sort of very chill, and then I kind of was like, Crystal like sort of waved at her, and then she just sort of looked up from like laying on the floor, and she was just like, "Yeah, I'm here all the time."
Yeah.
Bless her.
Yeah.
How do you feel like when you come into the rehearsal room and then moving into tech and then dress and then opening night? Is it do you think it's a similar track to an actor in terms of feeling, or is it like you feel slightly more detached from it until a certain point, or?
I mean, there's definitely the same adrenaline when it comes to first performances and like opening night previews and all of that build up. You can obviously feel a bit more relaxed in rehearsals because it's not the real thing and able to facilitate a bit more. But then, also can't escape. You don't want to be the thing that also isn't like perfect on any show, but especially like some of the earlier ones when all of the creatives are in and all of the friends and family of
under a
everyone
lot of
is
scrutiny
in. And now it's up and running and we just don't care about it.
No, just let it fall to pieces.
It's fine.
For the stage manager, it kicks off more in tech. Because in the rehearsal room, the SMs are working, especially on this show, they're working incredibly hard getting all the different props together for all the different ideas that people were working. Because
there'll
Mischief
be new ideas.
throw a lot of ideas out, and it's great that you can then have a quick stand-in prop and test that out. And so James and Eve,
cutting a lot of things out of polystyrene.
I remember this. That was very cool.
They didn't make the final show.
Alas.
But you two were very busy doing that, and my role in rehearsals is more planning, so that when we get into tech, everything's there and ready to go, and we all know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So for me, it really kicks off in tech when you kind of bring all the departments together for the first time and try and make everything run smoothly.
So are you on comms with all of the departments all at once?
So I have, on my comms, I have the DSM, stage, which is flies, stage crew, stage management, and a stage management private ring. And then lighting have a separate ring, but I can talk to them on the main ring.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're like quarterbacking everyone with... And are you trying to like hear bits of conversation, right? So if a director and say an actor's talking about something, can you go, well, I know that's about to have an on-stage effect that needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Are you relying on that to be communicated directly to you, or are you sort of eavesdropping all the time?
A bit of both. I think you need to, especially in the rehearsal room, there's lots of conversations going on at once. And you kind of need to be aware of all of them so that if someone comes to you and says, oh, we need this now, you know what that's in relation to.
Yeah.
Or if a director says, oh, I've just decided that we're going to change this or cut this, you're kind of with them. It's not a shock to you when they come and say that.
Because like sometimes discerning the difference between like this is a thought that I've had and oh no, this is now set in, we said that yesterday. Like, and it's a definite, like, can be quite a thin line.
I imagine with us as well, because it will probably be like, because we all of the actors have a certain level of kind of autonomy about the show. So like, I know that if I've come up with a joke that the writers will be happy for me to try it. So I might just be chatting to you and be like, oh yeah, I just had this idea. But then sometimes like a whole thing will turn up and I'll be like, James, what the f*** is this? I'll be like, you said, and I was like, did I? Yeah, okay, yeah, this is great, let's do it. Or I'll be like, where's that thing that I definitely asked you for, which I definitely didn't?
I think that's what makes a Mischief show really interesting, is like you said, you've all got input. Because it's not your standard, there's a group of actors, here's a director, here's a writer. You're all involved and it's really collaborative, but it means there's a lot of ideas.
A lot of ideas, a lot of voices.
But Matty, our director, is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, he was really good with
listening to you all and everyone having input, and then also keeping everything on track. And
how did the tech compare for you guys?
Like, having to make the decision and going, that's enough ideas now, this is a good one, we'll stick with that one.
I actually said this to Matty as well a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I think you give us too much reverence. I think he was too kind to us. He was like, I want to hear everyone's idea. I was like, no, sometimes I need to be like, guys, shut the f*** up. We need to just pick a lane and do it. But I thought he did that really well in the tech.
He did.
It was like it felt like it could have gone off the rails very easily.
Matty was, I think I have to say, the most organised director I've ever worked with. Because the American system is slightly different. So he kind of moved from stage management to directing because the American stage manager is more creative. Which means he came at everything with a stage manager brain. which I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
So he
Like
had
ticks on the travelator and things
Yeah.
like that kind of language that would have necessarily, some other directors might have just been like,
Figure it
sorted
out.
out, like he solved it for
That's
us.
a good thing,
essentially.
actually. People might find that interesting. Yeah, tell us about the ticks on the travelator.
Ticks on the travelator.
Sounds like a bad
well,
album.
in the show,
Yeah.
the travelator runs like across the whole length of the stage, like a treadmill.
Yeah.
Functions in that
It does
way.
feel like a treadmill.
Obviously, a lot bigger than a regular treadmill. Yeah, operated mostly by Liam as well, resident tall Liam.
Yeah.
And so for like the frantic Act 2 chase, for example, it's running constantly. You guys are running on it.
Yeah.
And then stage management and crew are placing small bits of set, like a newspaper stand or a souvenir stand, for it to go across.
And that happens off stage.
Off
Like the
stage to
travelator
then
runs
move
off
on
stage,
to stage and meet you guys in the centre. So a lot of tech was the timing of that, and
Yes.
Yeah.
when do we put it on? Can we put it on with beats of the music for it to meet the
Oh,
middle?
wow.
Because obviously then the speed that it travels at can change that too.
Yeah.
So getting all of those bits precise, and the tick part of it was Matty created like I think it ended up being a meter
Yeah.
apart, wasn't it? So every meter we have a little spike mark.
It's like a little golden or
Yeah.
yellow thing. Yeah.
And then at the top of Act 2 is a good example, when there's that corridor scene that Bernard walks between the two rooms a lot. That became very much okay, so how many meters, I suppose, is the easier way of saying it, is before we put the bit of set on for Bernard to reach it at the pace that we're moving at, because then each scene also speeds up.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. Because I remember being in the same wing as you, because you're watching from there.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing some conversations that was just so funny, because like the guys were like trying to put the doors on with the ticks, and the amount of times I just heard Matty being like, "How many ticks are we on?"
Yeah.
And then he'd be like 17. He'd be like, "Make it 25," and it was just felt so random. And I remember Callum just being like, "He's not going to want 25. He's going to want 21, I guarantee you." And like the serious conversation about the ticks
No.
with people
Yeah.
just
Not
being
19,
like,
it's
or you
20.
on comms being like, he's about to change it to 19.
Yeah.
And then it's like, he doesn't want 19 ticks, he wants 20. And then it'd be like, it's 20 now. But we sort of just had to like try
But
everything.
to be fair, I think Matty was fairly accurate with a lot of them.
And as you
early
guys
on,
got better
like,
at it, I think that's when the amount of ticks
Yes, and
reduced, because it was like you
Yes.
needed less time
Yeah.
because you were getting
and through
more
a couple
efficient.
of previews as well, I think there were some like script changes as well to make like that whole section
Yeah.
a bit
Yeah,
tighter.
yeah.
So eventually, again, we've done it so many times that it seems to go flawlessly a lot of the time, but
It
it doesn't
does, yeah.
take much on that moving conveyor belt if something's placed slightly off.
Yeah.
Like why is the door at a complete 90
Oh
degree
yeah,
angle?
some of that is funny. Yeah, where you're just trying to like dodge the props that have just been like, so you could just, and it's so weird on stage. Like when you see the stuff coming on, you can sort of tell the story that's happened in the wing, where you're like, oh, something's gone wrong, and somebody's just had to throw all of this on, and you're sort of walking towards it laughing because you know it's not right.
Usually
but-
one of us kind of like
Try to
backpedaling
Yeah.
on the travelator
trying to
to try and
straighten it up.
twist it.
Because to give an idea to people that have seen the show, in each wing, in that back and forth, we're talking about two. There's stage management, and there's one stage manager, like ASM, two crew members, and a cast member helping to lift things on and off.
Yeah.
Plus the cast members that are getting on the travelator to move. And then stage left, we've also got Liam operating and myself watching.
Yeah,
so there's
yeah.
so many of us stood in this tiny little gap, having to lift things on and off to time.
Yeah. It's so strange. I think as well, the thing about the Knoll Coward is it has a lot of depth, but we don't have a lot of width, do we? Like behind what you can see, there's a lot of space, but to the left and right of what you can see is very tight. And I've definitely slammed into the wall a few times on the chases.
Yeah, because you've got to like sprint off into the wing.
Yeah,
and
and
then
just hit the
immediately
wall.
stop.
Do you remember there's a genuine talk putting crash mats on
Yeah.
at one point?
But
Yeah.
people could just like bounce off
Bounce
them
into
before
them.
heading back in.
Yeah, I thought that might encourage people.
Yeah, to be fair, yes, that's
true.
a very good
Yeah,
point
yeah.
actually. I'll be like, yeah, man, I'll just slam into a crash
That's
mat. It's
I'll
fine.
do that.
Just pad all the walls up.
And I mean, you can attest to the Act 2 chase as well on stage right, when we're essentially playing the floor as lava with everyone,
Oh,
and
yeah.
costumer having to stand on treads of another set piece to be out of the way of everything else is moving whilst they're doing quick changes. It's quite...
there's so much stuff coming in and going off, and it's like, getting it out of the small space into the bigger space. Yeah. But it's also the walkway for everyone to get to the stage, so everyone's trying to dodge it.
Yeah, if there wasn't any cast on stage having to enter, it would actually be really
I think
easy
a lot of our
for
problems
us.
would be solved if we just got rid of that bike. I feel like the bike is always...
Don't let Matty hear you say that.
But we all had bets that the bike would be cut. I don't think anyone predicted that the bike would get added in more.
Yeah, me too. I thought the bike would be cut.
I did not see that come in.
Yeah.
And it's now in...
It's Kenny Waxman. He loves the bike. Literally, I remember we put the bike in
so much. I think it had to make extra appearances.
Oh my God. It was mad. I remember we did this whole run, and it was like a real big triumph for us at 3 Mills, where we were rehearsing, and we'd put it all together, and we'd had like polystyrene cutouts of stuff and like as much tech as we could get. And I think I remember us managing to like really do it and being like, okay, there's a lot of work, but we've just put together a run. And I never forget Kenny just being like, I loved the bike going across the stage. And I was like, are you serious? You've just watched us break, everyone's broken their back for 2 hours and you're telling me you like the bike. He was like, yeah, you don't see a bike on stage very much. And I was just like, get out. You're not welcome here anymore. Leave.
Well, there we go. It's got a bigger part.
It's in. It's in. And is there any parts of the show that... what are the parts that you get most excited by or most scared by? And it doesn't have to be Spies. It can sort of be in any show that you're like, this part of it.
I don't think there's anything that I get scared by, like not to the extent of being terrified, but because I kind of enjoy some of those moments that create the adrenaline that would be nerves or being scared. But for me, I really enjoy calling a show, and I'd like to be DSM one day. Hire me, please.
Well, you're bumping up on this one.
Yes. Well, yeah. I get the last month of the run to be DSM, which is lovely.
And you've done it a few times already as well.
Yes, I have. Yeah. But especially when you first learnt the book. It's very much. Well, personally, I feel it's very much more obvious if I were to mess up. It kind of falls on. That role's head to be like, oh yeah, hands up, that was me. Not saying that when I'm ASM I pretend it's someone else's fault if something goes wrong, but
if the mistakes feel slightly more public. If you don't sound cue or a lighting cue isn't quite right.
And especially with things to music or something as well, when it's so clearly supposed to be happening on the beat of something, it's harder to maybe hide those little mishaps which have never happened, but the adrenaline of that is quite nerve-wracking, especially the first few times, but I quite like it.
And it must be kind of weird because you're sort of in describe the little perch for the...
I've never personally been in a perch before. It could be looked at as quite like regal or like surveying everyone down below, but it's a little bit lonely. It's a bit isolating.
Imagine,
because also the benefit of our comm system, the way we communicate with each other, there's so many rings or channels to all the different departments to talk to each other. The one that the DSM operates on is like the main one that everyone hears. But to avoid distracting the DSM, not many people talk on it.
Sure.
So there's a massive chunk of, especially in the Battenberg, when it's just scene after scene, lighting cue after lighting cue, you're sat up there in your perch and it feels like you're just talking to, like everything, because you're watching a screen as well.
Yeah.
And then have definitely been times I've felt like going, anybody out there?
Like,
you haven't all left, and I'm just kind of like chatting to myself up here.
Well, that's kind of what I was interested in. He's describing that kind of like adrenaline or the nervousness. And I can imagine if you have that backstage and you're around loads of other people, there's a kind of shared experience. Or if you're like lugging a massive bit of set and doing something big and physical, but if you're just kind of sat staring at a book and a screen on your own, just experiencing that must be kind of strange.
Yeah. it can have its benefits too sometimes if you don't want to have to talk to people
Yeah,
during
yeah.
the,
Don't have to
the
like
day.
deal
Just one
with
of those
anyone.
days, like just me and my little
Yeah.
space. But you don't necessarily get as much gratification as, like you say, if you're pushing the wharf up the ramp at
Yeah,
top neck
yeah.
speed with 3 other people.
I think stage management's an interesting one because the jobs, particularly stage manager and DSM, are so different.
Yeah.
Even though it's
Yes.
technically deputy stage manager.
Deputy to your role, but in no way are they similar.
Yeah,
Right?
they're very different, aren't they?
Completely
Yeah.
different. So you get a lot of people like I am much happier running around on the deck
Yeah.
and like problem solving that way. And other people are just so brilliant at DSM and so suited to that because it's just a completely different skill set.
I feel like Helen had to almost create a whole other language to sort of understand that tech process as well, of just like being able to go like, again, overhear those conversations, a line change,
Yeah.
and how many then departments that affects, because it's being approached, especially in this context, more from like a comedy aspect. Oh, we're changing this
Yeah.
for the laugh. But then that has a ripple effect to sound, and
Yeah.
they're speaking 5 extra words, so I can't turn their mic off at the point that I have for the last 2 weeks, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that I have enjoyed remembering and learning from her in this process, because in some of the shows before, it doesn't change as frequently. So you forget to then go, oh, yes, and that's the
That's the
next
what you got to
step.
listen
Or
out for. Yeah. I remember speaking to Helen actually because she came up to me once and I was like, "What happened to the cue there?" And she was like, "Oh, you didn't say the line." I was like, "Oh yeah, I just improvised something." And she was like, "Yeah. So that word in that line is the cue for this thing." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So she was like, "Say whatever you want.
Yeah.
But the second I hear that word, I'm going to fire that cue." And I went, oh, "Okay, good to know." And then because it was at the start, we were like writing down everything and making sure every word was right. But the second you put us in front of an audience, it's like we're going to play with the rhythm and see what's funny. And then actually, just being, as an actor, being reminded of being like, we've got to the point now where it's like, don't care what you do, but when you say this is going to happen. I go, great. I know that like that's, and so we're kind of sort of obviously not learning the book in the same way, but we're learning where the cues are.
Yeah.
So we can play around within the cues, which is fun.
The first time, I'm just going to, throw Adam under the bus here. He won't mind. The first time Adam went on we were rehearsing Adam into track 1 or 2. Which one?
Track 1.
Track 1. Couldn't remember then. Because Adam had been on as Woodbead a lot.
Yeah.
So he was a bit later in the game going on in that track, which involves the massage bed.
Yes, yeah.
And I just loved a moment when he looked at Helen and said, "Oh, it's all right. I can't quite remember the lines, but I'll busk it. Are any of them cue lines?" And she just went, "Yes, all of them."
Yes, I remember that.
And his little face.
It was just like, okay, when Adam stops talking, then you can do the
That will
next
be the
cue.
cue.
Yeah. Oh, bless him.
Fair play to him. He smashed it. He did it, and he did know them. But
Yeah,
it was just his hope that they weren't cue lines.
It's also, Adam's a fantastic one because he'll just be like, "Yeah, I've got it," and then you'll get halfway through and he'll be like, "No, you don't get it. You haven't got it," and he'll be like, "No. Should we take a minute?" He's like, "Yeah, let's learn it."
Bless him.
Sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to say that is also the fun part of when you get too comfortable with what you guys are doing or what we're doing, that it doesn't have to be as rigid as well, because your improvised moments, your little corpses or whatever, is also what makes it fun. Like we never want to get to the stage that it's so paint by numbers or that we also can't adapt to things, because I suppose we have to in case things go wrong.
And I think that's true. This sort of is a theme that runs through, as you were saying, in terms of the collaboration and the amount of voices. But it's a thing that starts in the rehearsal room and kind of makes its way even to now. Like every Friday we have conversations about changing lines and stuff. And I think we've now learned the process of being like, okay, let's just double check with whoever's on the book to make sure we're not going to f anyone up if we do this, which is a new thing for us because the show is so like cue heavy.
Yeah, it's a very busy show. But I like those Fridays with the little line changes. I think it's interesting to see what kind of Helen Henry or anyone else has come up with. And one of them that came from that circle, the kind of parish notices discussion, I think it's really funny.
Which one?
The Bang Bang Woo.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Bang Bang Woo. Yeah, yeah.
And that was just people pitching in because
Just silly ideas.
Henry said, "Oh, we're going to cut this line," and everyone was like, "Oh, we really liked that one."
Can we replace it with
And
something?
then you kind of
Yeah.
collaboratively came up with that, and then it got a big laugh. And it's
Yeah, and sometimes we really strike gold, and sometimes it's like, I remember we asked Byron to try a new line once, and he did it, and I came back and I was like, Byron, and he went, yeah, swing and a miss.
Yeah.
Just like went on for his scene.
There was one. There's one of Janet's lines that we tried
Yep, yeah,
for one
yeah.
night, and then the next day everyone just went.
Which one was that?
It was about her bunions.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the Dunk My Bunions
Yeah,
thing.
there was one before. I can't remember
Oh,
what she was
Blitz My
going to say.
Corns. Oh no, there was
There was one we tried for
Blitz
one
My
night,
Corns,
and
Dunk My Bunions.
And it almost got a groan because it was a bit too visceral.
Yeah,
It
I
was
kind of,
like-
I think I've deleted
Yeah.
it, but I do remember
And
that.
Nancy just gets to leave the scene, and you were left.
Yeah, she was like, how was that? And I was like, awful.
Yeah.
I was just sat in the sourness of your gag. It was horrible. But yeah, I suppose that is really fun. And like, actually, the thing that I'm always impressed by with you guys, actually, particularly backstage, is just the change between just like the downtime, where actually there's, particularly during like the hotel sequence in the Battenberg, it feels very relaxed backstage. There isn't too many cues. There's stuff to keep an eye on. But then going from that kind of like downtime to just like the full throttle scene changes, particularly in Act 2, just kind of how organised everyone is always so impressive.
I think it's one of my favourite things is when you, for instance, in tech, there's a lift shaft sequence or a lift sequence, which we teched a lot because throughout previews we were making changes to it, and it involves everybody, every person in stage management, every crew, even the cast are helping at points to get it set up, and then to strike it involves everybody. And when you're first doing it in tech or in previews, and you've got like a goal of how long you need to be, and you think, okay, we're gonna keep working at this, and we will hit it. And then once you're in that sequence, and everyone knows what they're doing, and you know where you're going, and you run it to time, and you're done before you need to be, and that's really satisfying.
Yeah.
And it comes from just doing it over and over and over.
Feel like it's a choreographed.
Yes.
Like, yeah, you can enjoy it a lot more because it's like, and now I step here to get out of.
Yeah, and it feels
Dave's
slick and
sprint,
cool.
and he does-
Yeah. I remember in one of those actually, because we fly in like the front cloth to cover the scene change. And I remember it flew out, you know, you had 2 minutes or something, or 90 seconds or whatever it was, and it flew out on 90 seconds and it was all done. And then I remember speaking to Helen in the break, and I was like, how quick is stage management doing that bit? And she was like, oh yeah, they were done well before. And I was like, fly out the cloth as soon as they're ready.
Yeah.
She went, what? And I went, don't wait for 90, because we're just making it, like we were just improvising out front. I was like, we're dying on our asses out there, Helen, trying to like buy time. And
Whilst we're celebrating.
and you guys are doing it like, wait. And I was like, and I remember speaking to you about it, and you were like, oh yeah, it's done in like a quarter of the time that we were doing it in tech. And then I spoke to Matty, and he was like, oh yeah, no, you should be flying it out whenever you're ready. But I remember Helen being like, oh, okay, that's new, write that down. But it's weird, obviously, as an actor, that feels like a really obvious thing. But she doesn't know. She's like, yeah, maybe you've got a 90-second scene. And like, equally, what could
What's
happen
Dave's
is,
bit today?
yeah, I could be doing a
5
bit,
minutes,
and then she flies something out halfway through a bit. I'm like, what are you doing? You've just ruined my joke. So she's just doing what she's told. But yeah, those bits are the most satisfying, I imagine.
We did discuss a full musical number for Nancy at that point.
Yes, that
Yeah, we
was
were
on
like,
the cards.
That could
'Cause
be our cover.
just because we weren't sure how long that was going to take. Oh, I remember that. That was so fun. I remember in another show, I did Grown Ups, where there was a big scene change. And the director asked me to come out. I had a very small part in it. I sort of started the top of the show as a head teacher, talking to the students as a school. Talking to the audience if they were students at a school. And then a smaller part in Act 2. And in between this scene change, she said, can you come out as the head teacher and just do some business while we're covering the scene change? And I went, okay, how long for? And she was like, the fastest we've done it is just under 3 minutes. And I went, you want me to do 3 minutes of improvised business with the audience? She was like, you don't have to. We can just like pause the show. And I was like, no, I'll come out. And me and Bri went out and just did. And by the end, we had a tight 5. And then we had like...
You'd increased it by 2 minutes.
Yeah, we had a tight 5. And I was like, no, guys, there's more business here. And then we ended up like refining the jokes, and then we cut it down and we sort of matched it. And then the whole thing got changed to like this big 90s mega mix where you saw the scene change happen, which was much better. But that was one of the weirdest things I've ever been asked to do in Mischief, was like come out as a head teacher and improvise.
Just vamp.
Yeah.
Well, that is one of the things that I've enjoyed over the process the most as well, is like seeing what's stuck and what's landed that wasn't necessarily even in rehearsals.
Yeah.
Like some of the jokes and some of the you know, rule of three that have suddenly appeared in the show as ongoing themes, like weren't in there until previews or something. Like I feel like the pigeon made quite a late appearance. Like I don't think the pigeon has a prominent role as they ended up having in the show. And I think the spleen stuff, it's one of the biggest laughs now, but it wasn't like
that was almost quite recent in sort of like it wasn't, we'd been running for a little while. But yeah, it's interesting, like that kind of stuff, what sticks out for an audience, certainly, where you're like, oh, they've really just like got on board with the spleen thing.
Yeah.
So let's do a couple more spleen gags.
And it really works.
Yeah, and it's very strange.
I think it's also quite humbling as well, though, because Mischief creates such a great atmosphere for everyone to collaborate that you feel like you can do it too. And then it helps you remember that you're not an amazing comedian when your suggestions aren't being taken. So and it's like, oh, the line change could be this. No, it's not made it in.
Give it a go.
Interesting. You only put Dave's ones in. Maybe that's because it was funny and mine
give it
wasn't.
a go. We should give everything a go, though.
Well,
I feel like now it's just like if anyone has a joke. We had it on Bank Robbery. We had a few guys from front of house suggest some stuff, and some of it's made it in. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, all right, let's give that a go.
Okay, so it is just
my stuff.
It is just yours. Sadie's had loads of gags in.
Oh yeah, the spleen all me.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
There was a moment last week that we've got the dummies replica Dave's backstage for some of the bits that happen and more of the flying through the windows. For whatever reason, I decided to hide underneath one and also look like a splayed corpse because I was doing my job properly and not distracted in any way.
No.
And I remember Shields just kind of came over and was like, "What is this for?" But it was the way that, like, he didn't even ask, "Why are you doing this?" It was like the phrasing of what is it. It was like, couldn't you even like imagine that it was for humor and for like entertaining you?
What
and
are
it was
you
like,
doing?
no, this is just like
What you're doing is you've lost your mind.
And I mean, he wasn't wrong, but it was still a bit like,
what is this
for? When
for?
I feel like sometimes stage managing role is to like uplift and like keep people entertained backstage.
Yeah.
It's hard to do in this case when the people you're trying to entertain are comedians
Just
and
like
have
the
been doing
silliest
it
people,
for
yeah.
like 20 years or whatever.
Well, I appreciate it.
Oh,
Just know that
thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to have to wrap us up in a minute. But before we do that, I got two questions floating around in my head. The first one is, Sadie, you made some notes. We got to see what's on the notes.
It's
What
not
was the
good.
notes?
It was. Okay, so I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I always get annoyed at people that A, haven't listened to the podcast they're going on,
Okay.
and B, aren't prepared.
James
I'm
saying
listening
hasn't
every
listened.
episode.
Yeah,
Listen
yeah.
to every episode.
I may listen
This is
to
the most stage
episodes.
manager approach to a podcast I've ever seen.
I'm fully aware.
What have you got on there? Come on.
I just took the email that Harry sent saying this is the kind of things we're going to chat, and then I made little bullet points so that if I ran out of things to say, I had ideas.
Okay.
It includes Mischief are a lovely bunch of humans.
Wow.
That's written
okay.
as
That's what they forced you to say.
They
Is
did,
that right?
yes. They made me type it against my will. And more people falling out of windows than I normally
Okay.
do.
May I see it? This is great. Collaborative process,
Yeah.
rhythm and pacing. These are all really good. Comedy is dependent on rhythm and
Are
pacing.
there any bad things on there? Are there any
Let's have a look. Run tech, coordinate scene changes, keep people safe.
Yeah.
Having writers in the show.
It's different,
Yeah.
Because the difference between like Mischief and your kind of standard show, if you like we
Yeah.
said, you've got Helen Henry in it and all of you in it, which is why we're still doing those changes on a Friday.
Yeah. This is very. I loved it, James.
Sorry,
You've got something
that's
to
why
learn.
I'm assistant.
That's why you're
I'm not
assistant
ready.
to the stage manager.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's...
And my final question was probably more of I was going to say a political one, but not in terms of like politics, but more like, do you think there is a shortage of stage managers or a shortage of people wanting to be stage managers? And if so, why?
I think there's a lack of access. It's quite a hard thing to get into. You either have to go through drama school, which is expensive, or you just have to start out at the bottom and work your way up.
Yeah.
Which you have to live off very little money So I think there's a lack of access for people. I think more people would do it if they could. And I think people don't know it exists as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, if there was more education about the roles in theatre, then you might have more people.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
for
Because
sure.
like at school, drama was acting.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of those cliched, like originally wanted to be an actor kind of thing, and then found Backstage. But that's because they didn't teach
You didn't start
backstage. Yeah, crew, stage management, sound, lighting wasn't really drama at school. It was just the Shakespeare acting and monologues and things.
Yeah. Well, hopefully these kind of conversations will go somewhere. Like if our fans are listening to it, like understanding that so much of what they see on stage, probably half of it is happening off stage in some way. Like just for it to happen, like we're delivering the lines and delivering the jokes, but like.
And I mean, we probably only mentioned 20% of it as well, because there's so many of the departments that aren't represented here. We're talking about the things that happen daily with each show now in the building, but so much happened before we even got to
and the pre-production,
rehearsals
the
or preview or design and all of that.
But yeah, I suppose it's just making people aware of it, and then that will drive people towards it. Because some people might love theatre but just not want to be on stage.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Like,
that's exactly me.
Yeah,
I love being in theatre. I love the creative process. Especially like the opening night of a show, you get, I think backstage you get just the same rush as the people on stage.
Yeah.
But I absolutely do not want to be on the stage.
Yeah, which is fair enough.
That is
well,
not
that's
for me.
where we slightly differ.
Yeah.
I will never actually do it, but there's a little part that's always like, but if Woodbead can't go on today,
Maybe
then
we'll
how
get you as
many
a
of his
bellboy.
lines do
Yeah.
I
Get you to do track
actually
one.
know?
Yeah,
You do.
that would be very cool.
Could I have a cameo when it's filmed or something?
You can be Gladys.
Just like, yeah?
We'll
I
get
don't
you
know
as
if
Gladys.
Gladys with a
Adam
beard.
or
I don't know
whoever
if
would
Byron
give
or
it
Dish
up.
would give it up.
No.
They're very protective. And my final question in closing it is, who would you spy on in Mischief if you could? They would never know that you've spied on them.
Not in like a creepy way.
That's your choice.
Okay.
Dealer's choice. If you want to spy on them in a creepy way.
No.
No, good. Okay.
That's the correct answer,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, I'll have a think.
I think, again, in a non-creepy way, Chris Leask.
Yeah.
I think
That's a good answer.
there's like a charming chaos to Chris.
It's so chaotic.
So
I share a
chaotic.
dressing with him.
And
It's carnage.
I want to see if that, like, if he's like at home on his own, is it that level of chaos
I've lived with
still?
him for like 3 months. And there's carnage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think there's an added element to that I'd enjoy, which is to see where Sergei ends and Chris begins.
It's the accent
like
is the only difference.
Well, you see, I think there's still a chance that if we spied on him at home, he just talks like that sometimes.
Oh,
anyway.
100%.
And
I've never
not
known
even
a man
because
more
he's
nervous.
now doing that role.
Yeah.
Like he was doing that before Sergei existed, and then he's just kind of like stepped into the rehearsal room, and now
It's just he's built
it's
this
all-
character and he's like, oh, I can do my Russian guy. Yeah.
Did he suggest the Russians to the head?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably did.
Yeah.
Chris Leask is proven popular.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah, Chris
Who else
Leask.
is-
So quite a few people have said Greg,
Yeah.
just because Greg is so lovely, and we're
Yeah.
like, what else is going on there, Greg? Come on. Like, is he
Oh,
a
yeah,
real
okay.
spy?
He's so calm. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're like,
Maybe he's the opposite. Maybe at home he's like Chris.
yeah, where's the chaos?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
Chris is just so calm and
Yeah.
still at home. Yeah.
So we'd have to spy on both of them.
Yeah, but you could report back to each other. You know, one could spy on Greg, one spy on Chris.
Or did we steal your answer? What were you gonna? Were you gonna say something?
No, I mean, I think everyone's interesting. I'm trying to think of something different if Chris and Greg are so.
No, well, mine was Jono. But
Jono,
there's
yeah.
there's a reason for Chris and Greg. You know,
Well, you want to
stick with
say
your
Dave.
instincts.
I want to say
That's
Dave.
what it is.
No one ever says me, and I wonder if it's because I'm here.
Yeah.
But
Okay, well, I'm going to say Dave.
oh wow,
Yeah.
okay, I'll set up the GoPro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be. I'd love to spy on you, Dave.
Thank you,
I'd
man. I
love
appreciate
to-
that.
What hour of the day would best be to spy on you?
And I'm going to end the podcast there. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Mischief Makers with me, Dave Hearn, Sadie, and James. Good night.